Sadly, I wasn't too surprised when more students came forward after we aired Aria Kerwin's story, and I think that's because I just felt that surely Aria couldn't be the only student who felt bullied and intimidated during O-Week initiations. There had to be others.
I felt so intimidated because they were older, bigger, they'd been drinking. You know, I'm a 5'2" 18-year-old. You know, what am I going to be able to say to them that is going to make them stop? So I just thought I just need to do it.
Next thing you find yourself standing there in just your bra.
Yeah, and feeling very uncomfortable.
We sort of received two different responses from people. There were a lot of students who wrote to us saying, I had an amazing time at college, and basically suggested that Aria was lying. But you might have a great time at college, and we're not suggesting that you don't. In fact, Shana Bremner, who runs End Rape on campus, she actually said to us, and really stuck with me when she said it, she said, I've never had cancer, but that doesn't mean everyone in the oncology ward is lying. So just because you loved college and had a great time and cruised through doesn't mean that everyone does. And I think the more we investigate these residential colleges, you see there's such a misogynistic, toxic culture that has existed for generations. You know, there are stories going back to the 50s of this stuff happening, and it's so sad that it's still happening today. One of the things that I found really shocking about all of this hazing, which, you know, a lot of the residential colleges say it doesn't happen, but we've seen far too much evidence that it actually does, is that they'll say, oh, you can opt in, you can opt out, it's not compulsory. Yet we've heard from so many students who say, oh, I did that. I said no. There was one boy and he was forced to drink so much alcohol to the point that he passed out. So the next day he said he was done. He had to wear a dead fish around his neck for the rest of the week. He was singled out for saying no. And it's all so secretive. You know, there's so many of these events that they hold where the students aren't allowed to have phones. We've seen on Facebook messages, don't you tell anyone outside what goes on. Now, if nothing wrong is taking place, why so much secrecy? That's one of our big questions. And it's because they don't want people to see what's taking place behind closed walls.
He didn't even look at my face. He was pretty violent with it. And then when he left, I just felt so disgusting within myself. I felt terrible.
I can't tell you how brave these young women are who have agreed to tell their stories. And I know for one particular email that we were sent after we aired Aria Kerwin's story, I just read it almost thinking that she has to be making this up. This can't be true, the level of detail. And I remember meeting her, and she's such a strong, brave girl. And she's getting help now. She's talking through all of this with a therapist, and it's starting to really, really help. But one of the things I noticed is that, and it's a bit of a theme I've seen anyway from the young girls who we've spoken to, is that at the time, they all blame themselves. So they're in a situation where they've said no, but it's taken place anyway. But they blame themselves because they've been drinking too much, or it was just thinking, that's college, that's what happens. And it's only once they've left these residential colleges and once they're sort of, can I almost say, out in the real world, that they realise that behaviour is not right, it is not normal, and they did nothing wrong. They were victims.
I hope by telling my story it'll be easier for the next person to come forward and share theirs. The college won't listen otherwise.
And for them to lend their voice to this, and at great risk, because there will be students from St Mark's trying to work out who it is who told this story, trying to work out what year was she in, what floor and who it was. So they are incredibly brave for lending their voice, but there's the same theme that comes through, or the same line from all of them. I just don't want another young girl going through what I went through, and they feel a responsibility to speak up so it doesn't happen again.
We can't make lasting change in the way that a Vice-Chancellor or in the way that Rose Alwyn can, but we can show that we have people, we have numbers, and we don't agree with what is going on there, and we don't believe it's okay.
You've had enough.
We've had enough.
I'm so impressed with the Student Representative Council. Like, if these are our future leaders, our country is in very, very safe hands. They have sat by and have watched, as they say, the college, the residential college, and their university refuse to adequately address what they see as major issues within the residential colleges, and have decided we've had enough and we're going to do it ourselves. They represent 21,000 students at Adelaide University, including those students who live at St Mark's College. And I remember saying to them, you know, they're saying, we're going to advocate for them, we're going to be their voice. I said, but what if they don't want you to be? And I remember the response was, well, then it's even more important that we do. And their belief is that every student has the right to feel safe, and there is no place for hazing, rituals, for O-week initiations in this day and age. I mean, if you have one young woman saying that she felt bullied, harassed, or intimidated, then surely that's one too many. But we know there are far more than one.